We are live. Hello again, everybody. You've seen me a few times today. Excuse me. Welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa and my beautiful little co-star here, the CARLISLE STUDER, that has been on. You must be coming on for about a year now, right? Onto our channel.
Just about. My first time was in August, so this summer we'll have to celebrate our anniversary.
Well, that'll be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say, I really so enjoy our conversations. You've always got such amazing, because I know you like the health thing and all of that. So I know you do your research well, you're well read, you apply the stuff. And although I know and not everyone's body is the same and not everyone is designed to react in the same way to the same things, but you know, it's a start. So try it if it works for you. Otherwise, it'll open up the doors for other things that are going to work for you. That's the beauty of this journey of just moving back into health and well-being and just taking responsibility. You know, this is such a time where we're just taking back our power as human beings. I mean, just look what's going on around us. And the first thing we need to do is take care of our health, because without our health, we have got nothing. I mean, anyone in pain or in discomfort knows when you're in pain, you've got eyes for nothing else. All you want to do is just curl up and do whatever, you know. But so now there's so many solutions and things out on the market. And you know what's really, what's really becoming so clear to me, CARLISLE, is that these things that really work don't cost a lot at all. It's not that you've got to go now and buy this melt the fat away pill and the latest what I don't even know. But when you fill yourself up with the light of God. Is that your mama?
Yeah, Mom, I'm on live. Oh shoot, it's okay.
So when you do that, you automatically have health and well-being. But you just have to discipline yourself to doing new things. And that, I think, is where a lot of people battle, because they think it's such an uphill battle to change the way we do things. And it really isn't. So along with going, maybe we can touch on a little bit of that tonight, is finding holistic ways that are simple, easy. Let's just get the 1, 2, 3 going, because really all we got to do is just change direction here a little bit. So everyone wants an easy direction. We human beings, we like it easy, yet the crazy thing is we pushing upstream all the time, aren't we? And we don't even so, you know, just to change from that pill that you've been relying on, or your 37 supplements every morning or whatever, you know, just to turn it into something where we take responsibility, we do the necessary exercise, enjoying life in that way, you know, where we eat healthy, we make the decision to change the way we do things. And I think that's really important. So enough babbling from me, young lady, right over to you. How are you, and how is your beautiful little self doing there all across the globe in Texarkana?
I know, it's so crazy. I love being a Texas girl, born and raised. I love the South and Southern hospitality and all that things. I mean, I eat like I live in like California, but my personality is more like a Texas girl. But no, I really liked what you were saying about getting back to the simplicity of it, because I think that people get so overwhelmed when they first start learning about health and how to fix their bodies. And you're right. It's like, here's 57 supplements and all these different things you have to do and you have to take. And I think that if we really just focus on peeling back the layers one at a time and taking out one toxic thing slowly, and then really kind of like finding ourselves, and to know that we have all of the generations that came before us within us somehow. You know what I mean? I talked about this in our last show because it was so touching to me to see the diagram of a woman with a pregnant belly, and she was carrying a girl. And when you're carrying a baby girl, the eggs inside that baby will one day be your granddaughter. So to know that's like so powerful. And so anytime that I'm exhausted or feel like I can't do anything, I'm like, well, my generations before me, I existed before I ever even knew I existed. And I was powerful and I was able to heal. And for many years, medicine women have been helping each other and giving each other herbs and telling each other how to have birth and telling each other how to cope with their periods and things. And we've lost that connectivity. And I think that if we really help reawaken the divine feminine or the fertility or whatever you want to call it, like the really connection of womanhood, I think that's very, very powerful. And I'm very passionate about it right now. So I love coming out here to talk about all that.
Well, I think it's a wonderful show on which to talk about it, because it really is so important. This is the uprising of the divine feminine again, it is where women are reclaiming their power, and men too, because men too of the divine feminine. We've been suppressed in many ways. And it's time that, now's the time that we're learning the truth. We're understanding the power of who we are as human beings. And I think as that happens more and more, we will reclaim our power back. We will reclaim our health back and our well-being and all of that. We will go back to the ancient ways and work with those techniques in modern day times. It's great to have modern day technology. I'm certainly not saying we should no longer have technology or anything like that. No, we should, but we should just use it more responsibly and in a different way, maybe,
Absolutely.
But I think it's such exciting times. We really are living in the greatest transition ever. I do believe. And it's great chatting to you all across the globe. So
yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, no, so I know last time we talked about birth control and fertility, and it was so much information. And I've just been continuing my journey on learning about this. And I've been reading a book this week that goes into more, because I talked about the effects of birth control on the body as a whole. And I'll just kind of go over a little bit about that, how there's risks for blood clots and how it can cause gut permeability and gut dysbiosis. And it's really harsh on your liver. It's going to deplete your vitamins and minerals. It can affect your bone development, your breast development, your brain development, and it can hinder your lifelong longevity for health. So like risks of like osteoporosis and breast cancer are much higher when you've been on birth control for a very long time. And it can also shrink your ovaries by a lot and make it harder for you to be optimally fertile later on in life. Now, I do believe all of these things are reversible, and that with the right diets and herbs and sunlight and all those things, you can reverse it. So I don't want to like fear monger anyone on that. But what I learned this past week is more on the brain side. So I read this book. It's called This Is Your Brain on Birth Control. And so the lady goes into how our hormones kind of are responsible for like billions of things that go on in our body, turning on and off constantly. And she goes into why it affects specifically your brain and how that kind of affects everything else. Because it's so hard to pinpoint one thing and how it all goes around. And some of it went over my head because, I'm not a biologist or a doctor or anything, but it was very, very fascinating to see how it all worked out. Because on my mom's show, I shared that if you're on birth control, it can affect the type of partner that you choose. And I think some people were curious more about the actual underlying causes of that. And so basically what happens is when you're on birth control, you're not ovulating. And so you can't get pregnant, which is great if you don't want to have a baby. However, if you're not ovulating, a lot of different things are going on in your body than should be going on. So the way I like to describe it is like women are like the moon and men are like the sun, because men have more constant hormones and they rise and they set, and you know what's going to happen. And women are cyclical. So we have the moon has a 28-day cycles, and it's different every couple of days. And that's kind of how ours are. But when you're taking a birth control pill, you're having the same set of hormones rush into your body every day. So it's turning you into a more stagnant state, hormonal state. But when you're ovulating, you are attracted to a different type of man that's going to help you produce an offspring with more genetic diversity. So what happens is they did all these tests, and they found two groups of women, and they put one of them on the birth control pill, and they had one of them just have their natural cycles. And then 3 months later, they had them come back and build their idea of like their perfect man a few times, like on a computer, and like changing his like facial structures and what it looks like. And they noticed that over time, the women on the birth control pill built men with less masculine features. So they had softer frames, they had narrower jaws, and they weren't as like, because like signs of high testosterone is like a very square jaw and those types of things. And they also talk about how when women, if they're even in a relationship and they're in their fertile phase, they might be really attracted to guys that are much higher testosterone, because estrogen loves testosterone. So when you're in your fertile phase and you have lots of estrogen, you really want that guy that's like really confident and has the broad shoulders and the square jaw and lots of testosterone and like that typical like superhero kind of thing. But they notice that women, once they get on birth control, who they're attracted to in terms of their hormonal profile actually can change.
Wow. It would also make a lot of sense, because if you just think energy, you know, because obviously everything inside of you is radiating out of you, you know. So when you pumping yourself full of hormones, you're actually putting out a different frequency.
Yeah, wow.
So you know, like attracts like, so to speak. So whatever frequency you're putting out at the time of let's say being on birth control, would very, very probably mean you attract a different male into your life based on how you are feeling emotionally or hormonally at the time, because we know that those elements play a huge role in how we feel and how we conduct ourselves. And those, well, not so much conduct ourselves, but do we thrive or survive? Very few. There are a lot of people who definitely don't thrive on taking any form of these hormonal things, and therefore end up with all sorts of issues. And it makes a lot of sense to me, because as you're saying, you know, the hormones are going to make you attract a different kind of guy, because that would make sense. That would also be the energy that the hormones are creating in the body, and you're going to be my sense is of a duller vibration, I would imagine. A duller. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, guys, don't get me. I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense, because those are synthetic hormones. They're not your own hormones. Anyone who takes birth control knows that. So maybe that could be a part that has a part to play in our high divorce rate. Think about that. Because if you're attracting a young person, like a 25, 30, let's say, you know, and that's when most young women are on birth control. They don't want to start families yet, but they have partners, whatever, you know. So you have your babies, your one baby, two baby, and after that you go off your birth control. Suddenly your energy has changed.
Absolutely.
His hasn't necessarily changed, because he hasn't been taking the synthetic birth control. So it's almost like that whole difference in that whole male female yin yang. I don't know. I'd like to know what anyone else thinks of that. Any of our viewers in the chat right now, what do you think about that? You know, I think it's possible. I've never thought about it or read about it. It's just occurred to me now. I definitely think
absolutely. It's so funny that you said that, because on our last episode, someone in the comments said, oh, it sounds like, just like how you said, it could affect divorce rates. And in the book I'm reading, that seems to be true. Like a lot of women who have been on the pill ended up having higher divorce rates, and they had lower satisfaction in certain areas of their marriage, specifically pertaining to like attraction and sex and like those types of things, because birth control can really affect a woman's libido and a woman's desire for a man. It was interesting though, because the women on birth control had higher, they were more satisfied with their partner's money. So it seems to be that I don't know what the trade-off there is. So I think that was interesting, but they were missing like that primal like attraction to their partner, their man, because there was a story of this one girl who was dating this guy for 6 months, And she decided to go on the pill because they started having sex or whatever. And then her libido completely dropped off to the point of it caused a breakup because she was no longer attracted to her boyfriend. And when she went to her doctor and she asked, is it normal for, my sex drive to be low? He just kind of, was like, well, it could be your birth control, but also, people in relationships often lose the spark. So I wouldn't think anything of it. And so she broke up with her boyfriend and then got off the pill so she could focus on work. And then she ran into him 2 months later after she'd been off the pill. And she was like, I saw like a whole new man. Like I was so attracted to him. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I had lost all desire for him. And she was able to kind of pinpoint that was. And then now they've been together like ever since, which I thought was a really cool story. But I really like what you said about the vibration of it and the energy of it, because I do think that when you're a woman in your fertile phase, you have kind of like superpowers. And of course, you don't want to always channel those towards getting pregnant. You're only probably going to have a few babies throughout your life. But the fact that that happens to you every month, and when you're ovulating, your skin becomes clearer. You are the skinniest you'll be all month because you lose all your water weight. And your face actually becomes more symmetrical because it's trying to attract a mate. And so when you feel really good about yourself and you feel all cute and sexy, you kind of want to go do more creative things. So I definitely think it can change the energy. And it's specifically the highest form of creativity is creating life. And so, whether you're a man or a woman or gay or whatever, you still have that ability to create life inside your body. And if you turn that off, you're kind of turning off part of your creativity inside as well.
Huge amount. And I mean, it's always been a mystery to me why so many people don't see that the body in its natural form is by far the most powerful.
Absolutely.
And of course, as human beings, we need food to sustain us. We need water to sustain us and stuff like that. Absolutely. So what we put into our body is so important.
Mm-hmm.
But the more we stay connected to the earth, to nature, because we'll see what's in our bodies around us as well in nature, and what's in nature is in our body, or is in our bodies as well. We just have to see what the not the similarities, the synchronicities are.
Mm-hmm.
So the bottom line is that you are what you eat. You are what you put into your body. There is no way you can get away from that. There is just no way you can get away from that. Look at a child, when kids are in their purest form, you take a child to a party for an afternoon and let them eat cake and sweets and cold drinks and all these things. That child, I mean, any mother knows that. Those kids are on their sugar highs, and it's a nightmare for a few hours after that, and eventually. So how can we say that what we eat doesn't affect us? It definitely does. So it's about learning what your body needs as fuel. And, it starts with a relationship with your body, understanding your body is designed to heal itself, understanding you do have control over your birth cycle, understanding you do actually have, as a woman, you can choose to fall pregnant or not. It's your choice. It's your body. You've just got to know how to give your body that instruction. You've just got to know or when to have sex with your partner or not if you want to fall pregnant. We understand our cycles, so there's nothing to fear. So there's no need to put this nonsense in your body. If every woman understood how powerful she is, there would be no need for this. And that's the bottom line. So getting back to nature and getting to know our bodies and what we can put in, and the sacredness of who we are in this world. The power of who we are, what resides within every cell of the body is amazing. So yeah, it's time, I think, that we started understanding who we are, really.
Absolutely. And it was really interesting. So in the foreword of the book, this woman who wrote the book was on birth control for 10 years. And she went into detail about what happened. And she had no idea that it was affecting her so much until she got off the pill after she had 2 babies. And then her and her husband were done. So he got a vasectomy. And so she got off the pill so she didn't have to worry about getting pregnant. And she said that it wasn't until months and months later that she started putting it together, because she said that she felt like she had awoken from a sleep she had been in for 10 years because colors looked brighter and she was interested in cooking again and working out again, and described all these wonderful things that had happened and how she felt like herself. But then she also went on to say how she didn't regret it because she felt like she wouldn't have been able to get through college and graduate school without the stress of worrying about getting pregnant, which was so disheartening to me personally. And I understand everyone's journey is different. But I think that it goes back to that point that women have been kind of robbed of that understanding of their bodies. So the idea of, if I not getting pregnant is like my most important thing, and I can put my entire personality and my entire, spirit on the side for that, when really you can kind of learn ways around that are just as, because there's still a fail rate to birth control. Like you can still, it's a very small one, but not all forms of there's no form of contraceptive that's 100% effective, literally ever. And so I think that programming runs so deep that that fertility is such a burden. But I really like what you're saying about how men play into this as well, because we've talked about how, women will be attracted to different men and all these things are happening to women, but it also happens on the reverse side. So in this book, she was talking about a study they did, and I thought this was hilarious. They did a study over a couple months at a strip club, and they found which strippers were on the pill and which strippers were not on the pill. And they tracked their tips for a couple of months. And they noticed that the women who were not on the pill and who were cycling naturally had over double increased amount of tips when they were in their fertile windows. And the guys tipping them have no idea. But it was so funny to see that our biology is so powerful that even something like that is making you so much more money just because men have no idea why, but they're just so much more attracted to you. And so I thought that was fascinating.
It is fascinating. And I must have I've not heard about those kind of studies being conducted in strip clubs, but it makes a lot of sense. Because obviously, as you say, because as human beings, we are naturally attracted to each other's natural smells, natural pheromones, hormones, just that natural humanistic smell that we all have. And that's a very interesting one. And I'd be, it's interesting as well how many because this is actually, I was thinking about something that I wanted to ask you earlier, because when you were saying about the side effects of the pill, because I think last time we spoke about it, I was like saying, I don't know if there'd been studies conducted as to, let's say, women that have taken the pill and had given birth to children who are now probably around about your age, the children of those children type thing. So is there were you saying anything about that? I'm just trying to remember if that actually came up, and was that what you were saying at the beginning of the conversation, that they had done those studies on people who'd been on the pill?
I haven't found any of those yet in any of the resources that I've been reading. I know it takes like a long time for them to conduct stuff like that, and I don't know how they would go about it, but I don't think that it would be possible to not have some kind of effect, because I do know that I read this one book and it was saying how mothers with estrogen dominance will usually pass that down to their children. And they didn't do that studies on humans, but they did that studies on rats. And they noticed that women with estrogen dominance usually pass it down, or not women, rats with estrogen dominance pass it down to their offspring. And so I thought that was interesting. And we know that a lot of women with the pill struggle with that coming off, because you're taking like high doses of that every day. And it would make sense because, our hormones are synthesized in our liver. And we've talked so many times about how we store bitterness, anger, resent in our liver as well. And so that's a place that needs lots of love. And also, when you make a baby, your baby's going to use your copper reserves to make their liver. So you have to have a really healthy functioning liver to make a baby that's going to have a really healthy functioning liver, and those kinds of things. So I would assume that it's got to have some type of effect, but I think it's such a huge project that I don't even know how they'd be able to really pinpoint. Because millions and millions of women are on birth control, and their mothers as well. But I would assume, I don't have a study in front of me, but I would assume that it would have some type of effect.
Yeah, I've no doubt about that. It really, it's, I mean, how can it not? But anyway, I mean, that's really actually very interesting. Wow. So I'm just trying to see, I wrote something down here earlier that I wanted to ask you about that as well. But until I get to that question, I mean, what we also we're going to talk about, I don't know, is there anything else you want to just say on the fertility birth control stuff right now?
Yeah, I was going to go over, this is a fun fact that I forgot to mention. My mom talked about this on the show I did with her about birth control, where I had my friend on who talked about her experience getting off of it. And I read this in this book, and it was really fascinating because we know that men's hormones are constant, but they're constant on like a month-long scale. And they can actually, their testosterone is very unpredictable. So we are cyclical, but we know our cycles. And men's testosterone can be spiked by anything. So if you're going to get your testosterone tested and you see like a really beautiful woman on the way there, you might have different levels of it. And some like things like weapons, like action movies, beautiful women, like stress, like all of these things can honestly affect men's testosterone levels on any like an hour to hour basis. So I never knew that. Yes, isn't that crazy? Yeah, my mom told me that, and then I read it in the book, and I was like, oh my gosh. I thought it was crazy too that they specifically put that weapons are something that makes their testosterone go up.
That is funny. I didn't know that at all. That is very crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also as well, one thing I forgot to touch on is cortisol, because they were doing studies on stress responses in humans, and they do those, I don't know, they hook them up to wires and test their stress responses and how their body's going to release cortisol to stress. And in the last phase of it, they didn't have any women in the study because all the women they had in it were on the pill. And this is something that the pill actually inhibits your cortisol response to things. And so you think that sounds good because you're like, oh, it's a stress hormone, I'm not having stress, but it's actually very bad, because if you're not having a cortisol response to stressful situations, your body does not know how to cope with stress. So long-term, that's going to be something that's very interesting to kind of balance out and to worry about. And it's something that like, you don't want to have too much stress, but you also never want to have no stress, because then that's where boredom and depression can come in, because your body needs to learn how to have a healthy response. But it was interesting because that they weren't able to continue the study with women because all of them were on the pill and they weren't having a cortisol response. And so that was something I'd never seen in any of my other resources as well. And I thought was very, very interesting.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes me back to my previous, 2 weeks ago when we chatted about this. It's like, what is the intention? I mean, is this really for women's benefit?
Mm-hmm.
So that we keep the world population down?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really that, or is there something just a little bit more sinister going on here? I can't help but always wonder about these things when they push it like this and they make it such a big thing for women, because it's like every woman out there, every girl over the age of 14, and nowadays in our society that girls are actually becoming sexually active younger and younger. And I mean, now in South Africa, you've got to be 14 and you can legally have sex. So basically a 14-year-old can go to the pharmacy and buy herself birth control.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, this is what's happening now. How many millions of young girls and women are on birth control? And how is this affecting women's hormones globally? What effect does this have on just the female psyche?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Is what I would like to know, because this is where my question's going now. If you see so many women, I mean, yeah, in South Africa or in Africa generally, they don't necessarily take the pill, but they get the injection.
Oof,
so that's all.
Yeah.
It also stuffs with your feminine, your female cycle and everything. So you are on the pill or you're on the injection.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're pregnant.
Yeah. And the injection has very high rates of extreme depression after it as well. That's one of the worst, specifically for, I think, depression and brain fog.
The injection?
Mm-hmm.
What is it got in that that does that? Do you know?
I think because it's such a large dose that lasts for such a long time. But I just know that from what I've read, the women that have the worst responses to birth control modalities seem to be the injections and like the implants, because you can get that implant in your arm that it's birth control for 5 years, which is like absolutely insane. And then there's that one birth control that Bill Gates is developing that is an implant that he wanted to turn on and off with Wi-Fi, which is like just the most insane thing I've ever heard. You do not want to hook your body up to like some birth control cyborg thing that's conducted through the internet.
That is horrendous. Wow.
Yeah, it's scary. What was I going to say? I forgot. But yeah, and so also I was going to talk about just to feel like we, it's solutions, and we talk about how there's like a bunch of cheap things you can do to kind of help this. So I kind of wanted to just like go over a few very simple things that are good to kind of help your hormones, especially if you're a woman who's in your fertile years and you're still getting a period and things like that, because there's a lot of people get on the pill for extreme amounts of pain. And I understand why. If you're too busy and you need it for a little bit, that's completely different than getting on it for 10 years. But it's usually just a Band-Aid, because whenever you stop taking the pill, all the symptoms that you were getting before are going to come back. So one of like the simplest things that I did, because I used to always break out on my chin right before I get my period. And that's usually like the sign of a hormone. Like we know like face mapping, like if you're breaking out on your forehead, I think it's usually like food intolerances, and you can kind of use your body as a map to see what's going on. But we know like those like cystic breakouts that you get on your chin or hormonal. And I changed like one thing, and I haven't broken out on my chin ever since. It's been like almost a year. And that was not drinking coffee on an empty stomach. So now I just drink my coffee after I have breakfast, because coffee elicits a really strong stress response in our body. It's really harsh on our adrenals and our thyroid, but only if we have it on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. And so, I mean, I know there's people that even have coffee before they take a sip of water, and it's very hard, because I feel like sometimes you need that boost to like make breakfast. So, I'm like, if I'm like super tired in the morning, I'm like a zombie out there, like getting a little snack before I can have a little caffeine, which isn't good. I shouldn't be so reliant on it, but I'm not a morning person. I'm more of a night person. So that is one completely free thing that you can do that will really help mitigate PMS symptoms, because that is something everyone I know that drinks coffee, especially women, I think men have a different stress response to it because they're built to handle more stress. So if you're a woman and you're in your fertile years, or if not even, you just kind of try and play around with it and do it for a full cycle or two and see how much it helps. Another thing is, this is like a Ray Peat thing. I don't know. He's a very smart guy, and there's lots of books and resources on him, but there's something I've talked about, eating raw carrots before on here. And so our little raw carrot salad, or you can take a big carrot and dip it in coconut oil, because you want the coconut oil and you want the raw carrot specifically. So what raw carrots are going to do, they're going to bind endotoxins in your gut. And so the only way we can get excess estrogen out of our body is through bowel movements. It's not something that you're like going to sweat out, and it's not going to, you can't move your lymph around and get it out. You have to bind it in your gut. And so eating one raw carrot or raw carrot salad, and you have to have a little bit of coconut oil with it every single day, is going to help relieve your liver from processing all of that. So it's really good for your liver, and it's really good for your gut. And it's also, if you're not worried about estrogen dominance or anything, it's very good to eat a raw carrot every day, because it's going to bind those bad bacteria and microbes in the gut, and it's going to feed the good ones. So not drinking coffee on an empty stomach, eating your raw carrots with coconut oil, both two very, very cheap things that if you do every day and you just commit to it, you might see like a really good benefit for your hormones as well.
I love it. And a tip I would like to give to people in the morning, for those battling with the coffee addiction, and I know there are many people, is to rather try the hot water and a squeezed lemon. So the boiled water, squeeze a lemon, the juice of a lemon, and then I grate some fresh ginger. And sometimes, if I'm really not in the mood for the sour, I'll put a half a teaspoon of honey in there or something. It is such a yummy morning drink. And the thing is, it's part of what cleanses, because if you take that on your empty stomach before any coffee, firstly, lemon being very acidic, but taken on an empty stomach it balances out the pH in your body. So it's going to detox you. It's going to help with your digestion. It's going to detox your liver, detox your kidneys. If you have a 250 ml mug of freshly squeezed lemon every morning, I'm pretty sure you would have very little problem with the toxins in your liver or in the kidneys, because it's a natural detoxifier as well. Also has a host of other benefits, such as clearing the skin. You know, it's very good. The jointy things. So anything, remember, any illness in the body can only grow when the body is in an acidic state. So if your body is in a healthy state, it's naturally in a pH state, so it's balanced. But if you're too stressed, eating too much sugar, too much wheat, too much meat, whatever, your body builds up, literally in layman's terms, acids. And that's where you're going to, you know, where the illness grows. So at the end of the day, you know, you want to just bring as much balance in. So that in the morning for me, and then you don't eat or drink for at least a half an hour to 45 minutes after that. That's when I'll usually go and have my shower or even do my yoga. And then, you know, come back, take a shower, get dressed, and an hour later I'll make myself a cup of tea. And then I want to recommend maybe a nice herbal tea to begin with, like herbal tea with maybe, if you have a sweet tooth, half a teaspoon of ginger. It's amazing how when we start our day in a healthy way, it really changes the way we feel. It's so good to feel light, to not feel high on caffeine, you know, and running, you know, you start your day, you've given yourself that respect. So you automatically feel better. And then when you feel better, you want to like stay healthier for longer. That's what I found. Then have a bowl of fruit salad for breakfast, you know, or muesli, if you know, or I don't know, something that is more health orientated. So you then start getting into good habits, stuff like that, which is amazing. So it really is. It's cool. I mean, but the lemon juice in the morning, the lemon water, is a really good one.
I need to start doing that. It sounds amazing. Sounds great. Yeah. Really, I like an herbal tea I really like is red raspberry leaf. It's really high in vitamin C. And that's like something that pregnant women will drink in like their third trimester to help their body prepare for birth. But it's not just for pregnant women. It's a really great hormone balancing and relieving herbal tea. You want to make sure you buy high quality, because if you're going to be drinking it a lot, you want it to be organic and well grown and stuff like that. But if you're really struggling with cramps and those types of things, red raspberry leaf tea 2 to 3 times a day, and do it for a full cycle, and just see how much it really, really helps your body. And, you know, tea is very cheap. It's easy to find. And like you said, like in the morning, tea is so ritualistic. So it's not like, oh my God, I got to go drink my tea. It's like, okay, I can take this moment and I'm going to serve my body and I'm going to nourish my womb, because like warmth is really good for our womb space as well. That's why women, we have like, even if you're in perfect shape, you might have a teeny layer of fat right over your uterus. And that's not because something's wrong with you. It's because your uterus, your body wants to keep it there because it wants to keep your uterus warm. And it wants to keep your organs warm. So like tea is a very good thing, especially if you want to balance your hormones and you want to like take a moment and I mean, herbs are just so magical to me. I always joke around that, like they speak to me. Like I swear, like different herbs have like different personalities. Like I've had experiences with them and they talk to me, I swear. And so I think that if you really get in tune with yourself, maybe the herbs will start talking to you and let you know which ones you need to take.
Exactly. I agree with that. I totally agree. Yeah, we've had that topic before, called intuitive eating.
Yes.
The same thing. You know, your body knows what it wants. Your body really does know what she wants and what it needs. Definitely. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Sure. Well, I'm not sure. Thank you, young lady. And I've really enjoyed chatting about this again. I'd love to know from our viewers as well, just in terms of the hormone thing, sorry, not the hormonal thing, birth control,
Mm-hmm.
how they felt. I mean, if they, for example, met their partners while they're on birth control, had their kids and went off afterwards, or maybe started taking it after they got married or what have you, you know, maybe met them when they weren't on it. Did you guys feel that has actually affected your relationship at all? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think these are the subtle things that are so good to look for, and just to understand that everything we put into our body has an effect on us.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no doubt that we can't think taking the pill for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years has not affected you.
Absolutely.
So we need to start just checking these things. I would just do some research, you know, if I was
Yeah.
a woman that has had that. Just check it out. Do you have symptoms? Is there something that bugs you that you just thought was the norm? Google it, check it out, see what side effects are, join chat groups, speak to people. You're not going to always get from the doctors, really, especially not the allopathic doctors.
Absolutely.
If you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, or if you go to a homeopath or a naturopath, something like that, you would probably have more lack of getting these kind of answers. But the allopathic doctors, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck. I've heard so many horror stories of one of my best friends who I had on the show to talk about her journey getting off birth control. When she told her general practitioner that she was going to come off birth control, and she's my age, she's very young, he was like, "Oh, well, you'll probably never feel sexual pleasure ever again," which is a horrible thing to say to someone, especially based off of no evidence. Like she didn't take it to heart. She was like, he obviously doesn't know what he's talking about. But I mean, the way that they treat women who want to come off of it too, and like, is very demonizing. So yeah, you really want to find a doctor that really supports you and cares about you and listens to you, because so many of them are just like 10 minutes in and out, don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. You pay them for those 15 minutes, boy, and you pay well.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
Wow. Very, very interesting, Carlisle. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. Really interesting topic again. But what we wanted to talk about as well was the interesting topic of parasites.
Yes.
Really, I mean, I know it's not something that we want to talk about over dinner. It's not really dinner party conversation. But I think it is such an important one. And again, you know, the whole gut health thing and stuff like that. And I know you've also looked into that. So what is your feeling on parasites? You know, the whole cleansing process. Is it healthy to have some? It must be healthy to have a balance, just like the bacteria, the good bacteria, the bad bacteria. There must be some parasites as well that one needs in the body, right? Just to
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because I think that we've
going.
Yes, no, yeah, like just like you said, we have tons of bugs and bacteria and parasites in us, and we evolved with them. So some of them you do need, and it's more one of those things that if you have persistent certain symptoms over a long period of time that don't go away, even when you change your diet and you implement working out and you're doing all the things that are right, if you're still having like really bad symptoms of you know, like even like certain things like teeth grinding, extreme like gut issues is like one of the number one things, like digestive issues, like bleeding out. Like a lot of like people who have colitis can have like really bad parasites, fatigue, mitochondrial toxicity and fatigue, which would make you feel tired. Certain dairy intolerances can be linked to parasites, like extreme weight gain or weight loss. And also, this is super interesting, some people who have anemia have a parasite that eats iron. So they're low on iron because they have parasites eating their iron, and they go to the doctor and their doctor gives them an iron pill. And the more iron they take, the more iron these parasites are eating. So that is like absolutely insane to me. And they influence a lot of our decisions. Like a lot of, it's like, you know how we talk about how people go crazy on the full moon, like they're called lunatics because it's lunar, like the full moon. Well, parasites reproduce on the full moon. So if you are having symptoms and you think it might be a parasite, start keeping track of it. And if those symptoms get really bad around the full moon, you can almost always pinpoint that that's the problem, because there's no test you can do to test for parasites. People will do like gastrointestinal testing all the time, and parasites may never come up. You can do 15 tests and it'll come up one time. And so you really kind of have to find a really good practitioner to work with and really kind of track your symptoms to see if it gets worse around the full moon, which is so crazy to me because people do act crazy on the full moon. And I'm like, maybe this is all their parasites. And, you can get them from dogs licking your face, from tap water, walking barefoot. And like I said, the healthier you are, the less inhabitable your body is going to be to host these bad parasites. But if you do have one, there's ways to do a good cleanse. And like I said, you really want to find someone you trust and someone that cares about you, like a holistic practitioner to work with. And before you do a parasite cleanse, you want to open up your detox pathways. So I did one a few months ago, and I spent almost a year opening up my detox pathways. So you want to do things like dry brushing. You want to go for walks. You want to get in the infrared sauna, lymphatic massage on yourself, like gua sha on your face, making sure you're having regular bowel movements once or twice a day. And then you're not super stuffy. So you kind of want to make sure that your detox pathways are open. So when you are ready to kill off those parasites, your body can detox it, because they feed off of bad things and heavy metals a lot of times. And so when you kill the parasites, all the stuff that they were eating is re-released into your body. So you want to kill it using herbs. And then you want to take a binder like bentonite clay or activated carbon or those things, so you can bind the toxins that those parasites kill and get it out of you. That's gross.
Wow. That is actually, I like the bentonite clay, because the bentonite clay is a good binder. What would be a good way that you would say is a good way to cleanse? Because I think, over here, the norm is you go to the pharmacy, you take a pill every few months. They'll give you like a whatever. I mean, that obviously can't be very good for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, like I said, when I did it, I spent a long time opening up my detox pathways. And so there's this company called Cellcore, and they're like a practitioner grade. You have to usually like know a practitioner that can give you their login to buy their stuff. And like I said, they're active on the full moon. So that's when you want to do your parasite cleanses. You want to plan it around the full moon. And if you want to start with something gentle, like there's 3 days, there's 5 days, and there's 7-day cleanses. So even just a 3-day cleanse right around the full moon, and you're going to take things like a mimosa pudica seed, which is going to really, it's like a sticky, it's just like a supplement. Like it looks like a supplement, but what it does is it just goes through your intestinal tract, and it's like kind of viscous and sticky. And so it'll attach to those little bugs and bring them out. It's not going to absorb into your body. And that is great. I love mimosa pudica seed, and I find it works very well. So I would take like those in the morning, and then I would take like a tincture of like black walnut and a couple other herbal things. So you just want to, it's one of those things that everyone's different. You kind of want to do your research a little bit. And then with binders, you don't want to take them when you take the stuff that's going to kill the parasite. You want to give it like an hour or two, because the binder is going to bind everything. So if you take it at the same time, it's not going to do what you want it to do. So I would take in the morning, I would take my mimosa pudica seed, and then I would take a mixture of other things. I think it was like oregano and a few other spices. If anyone wants more information on this, you can always message me on Twitter, which is Carlisle Diana, and I'll comment that so people can find me.
Don't you want to send us your link, please? And then we
I
can
will.
post it in the description section below. And it would be great if you could maybe post a link or two to some of these maybe ideas on cleansing.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is a good place to Google and stuff, to check it out and stuff like that, to research it rather. So that's great. I think that is so important as well, because think about what a parasite is. It's really just leeching off your energy, leeching off your food, sucking all the nutrients out of your body. You know, you feel lethargic, awful all the time. So the minute you release yourself of that, it's like you literally got double the energy. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And people that parasite cleanse, especially ones that have really bad persistent parasites, say it's almost like a spiritual experience. Like it feels like they have kind of, like you said, they have a succubus energy to them. They're sucking your nutrients. So the energy behind that is almost like a spiritual, like people say that because you can feel it when they're dying, because you might feel a little nauseous. And so that's why you want to do things to kind of help and support your liver through that. But I remember when I did my first one, I was like, the night I did it and I could feel them dying off, I was like angry. It was like they were like mad to be leaving my body. Like they didn't want to leave. And it was such a weird experience because I was so mad. And then the next day I felt like amazing and great, and I had all this energy, but they really had made a home there, and they didn't want to get out. So that was a weird experience for sure.
I've heard stuff like this before, definitely. And I think it's so important, and I think it's so true. And I think everyone should try it. I mean, it's amazing how many people don't do it. I think it's important that we definitely take care of the body. And it's so easy, it costs nothing. This is how we invest in our health, guys, not through paying some insurance company exorbitant amounts for medical aid. This is how we invest in our health. And your body is always listening, and your body keeps the score. When you take care of your body will always take care of you. That's for sure. And that's a promise.
Absolutely. And yeah, and that's how I noticed that I had on my, I would get, because like another symptom of it is like excessive sugar cravings. And I would get really, really bad sugar cravings right around the full moon. And that's when all the things, like I would feel foggy brained. I wouldn't feel like myself. I'd feel extremely fatigued. And I tracked it for a while and kind of was able to pinpoint that. But it really is crazy how something so little and tiny, and they can be anywhere in your body. They can be in your liver, they can be in your gut, they can be in your muscles. Like they're microscopic, and you don't want to look up close-up pictures of them because they truly look like monsters.
Little microcosmic things.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
No, I think that is definitely something, Carmen. If we can maybe just post a link or a detox or a cleanse that you have, that you can maybe just put the viewers on the right path, I think that'd be great, because it's, I think, is very important for all of us to actually to be doing that.
Absolutely.
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow, that's amazing. Beautiful, brilliant conversation. Again, I just love talking to you. So that's incredible.
Oh, same. Thank you for having me on. I love coming on here and sharing cool things and getting to see you.
Absolutely, likewise. And we'll make it happen again in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, we'll talk about something super fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys and girls, thank you so much for watching our show. Really, really cool, for this incredible information that, many of us don't even take time to listen to. And I must say, with many of these things, I'm guilty too. I take a lot of things for granted. And just every now and again, it's just so good to have a reminder. And then I go, yeah, actually, I've been feeling like that. Okay, let me try this, So it's really just taking care, investing in yourself, because this really is investing in yourself, is taking care of your health, and not just your physical health, because when you do it, your whole energy also starts changing to that of appreciation, self-appreciation, and that when others around you start appreciating you too, and that's a very beautiful thing. So thank you so much, beautiful Carlisle. God bless you. Take good care of you. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so, so, so much for watching. If you haven't already, please give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. And we will catch you back on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa very soon. I'm not sure when, but soon. Tomorrow.
Amazing.
Okay, guys. Take good care. God bless you.
Bye, everyone.
Beautiful week. Cheers.